Java versus Bedrock is as dumb as picking between cheesecake and carrot cake when you can just have both, but there's a war between which is better anyway, which is why I'd like to present a better choice today, because what if there was a version of Minecraft that had all the best of Java while still having elements of Bedrock, and in some cases picking better than both? Well, we don't need to imagine. This is the legacy console, and despite being left alone since 2018, it's a perfectly finished game. It'll even tell you itself, and it's better than modern Bedrock and Java in some ways, but which edition is it really based on? Let's go into it today, because I'm going to play Minecraft Xbox 360, the very OG console edition, and we're going to be looking at individual features to see whether this game is more based on Java, more based on Bedrock, or indeed whether it's got its own special collection of features. Because even when we go to create a brand new world, you'll see some things that fit in that third camp of neither, like this texture pack selector. This is just genius. Instead of just telling you what texture packs by giving you a name, it gives you a real look at what the texture packs would look like. And even better than that, there is a paid aspect to some of these, but you can try out any of these for free, and you only have to pay if you want to permanently save it into your world. I think that this is consumer friendly, but also it's just a way better way of working out what you might want to do. So that's a point for better than either, but you know what else is a point for better than either? The biome scale. Java does have large biomes as an option, but Bedrock has no biomes as an option, and even on Java you can't pick medium or small. This is just immediately better, and this might seem slightly biased, but I swear, starting up a new world is just something the console did so well. How does the actual game itself feel? Well, let's find out, because I think that the first thing that we'll notice is we get this old style loading bar. It just spins all the way to the end. It's not a loading bar that gives you completion. It just keeps going until eventually it is done. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's just there to make you feel like progress is happening. But anyway, the first thing in any Minecraft world you should notice is what happens when you go to punch a mob or punch down trees. And so we'll go and punch whatever. Minecraft is really a game about punching first and everything else second. So let's see what it's really like when we go to punch a tree. By the way, this video is going to be a very live and raw one, but we're also going to have to start by putting our hotbar back on, which is indeed something that is done just like this. Simple enough menu, I think, although in this case I went to the wrong place. Here is my HUD, and now let's go punch down a tree, because as we make our way over to there, you'll notice some old textures. These were the same textures that existed on both Java and Bedrock, so nothing too notable here. But what is notable is what happens when we take these blocks that we break, again, old style Savannah logs, I think in this case, and we try to craft them, because you'll notice that, oh, actually, yeah, instead of having that Java crafting, or indeed even the Bedrock crafting, there's a brand new system that matches neither that looks like this. So this is the old console crafting, and if you understand it, it works so perfectly. There's a direct number of button presses required to make anything in here, and although it got more complicated over the years because Minecraft crafting did, it still actually worked surprisingly well in my experience. Speaking of surprisingly well in my experience, I've spawned right in front of a woodland mansion, and if you've never seen this version of the game before, you might be thinking to yourself like, wow, that's a crazy find. What an amazing seed this is. I'd love to see that one, Toy Cat. But the funny thing about it, also wolves, the funny thing about this isn't actually a Bedrock or a Java or a C. It's actually a console specific thing. So if I load up my map, which will be, by the way, the fourth exclusive feature. Oh wow, look how cool this is. If we load up this map, you'll see that, yeah, we've got ourselves this right next to spawn in the tiniest part of a dark oak biome, because having a map is a console exclusive, but so too is having way more structures. You see, to compensate for having smaller worlds, structures generate far more frequently, which is kind of crazy. Speaking of things that are crazy, now that we've gone through the crafting, the maps, and the structure spawning, I need to punch myself some food if I'm going to go into this structure. But to do that, I'm going to have to kill an animal. But you'll notice something weird, which is that if I try to walk into these sheep, I actually do, like, physically take up the same space as it. The same is true for this pig, and also interestingly, if I punch this pig, the pig will run away from me like crazy, like we're playing Java. This is one of those features that I have to concede Java has better than Bedrock. It's a realism feature, right? Like, it's more realistic that if you try to punch a pig to death, the pig might just run away. And it's really insane for me to say that I care about realism in a game where you have floating castles and magical enchantments. But at the same time, I do have to say that makes sense. So far you're seeing a game that is mostly unique with a little bit of Java mixed in there, but maybe that'll change once we go into this place, huh? Maybe. You know, should we go in there with just a wooden pickaxe? Do you think that'd be enough? I don't think that'd be enough. Let's go ahead, let's break down a tree, and let's see how that helps me. Or indeed, let's use my offhand, which you'll also notice I can't, like, quick move into, but you'll notice the offhand looks exactly like Java 2. On Bedrock, if you have an offhand item, it doesn't display next to your hotbar. Instead, it displays just here. Oh, sorry, just here only, which I've always found to be really, really weird, personally. So, as you can see, this is a difference. We have exclusively right here the ability to see our map, which I would argue, again, it seems entirely unessential. Why would you need to know there's a map there? I can tell there's a map there because it's there. But still, it's a nice feature nonetheless. Now, we're going to place down our crafting table, and we're going to do something a little bit mad, I think, because I'm going to raid my way into this structure. I probably shouldn't have made a pickaxe now that I'm thinking about it, but I've already committed, and that's a creeper. Not what I was expecting to find, but I guess he doesn't mind me. So let's instead go this way. And let's bring this creeper with me, actually. I bet he'll be useful. So if you could come with me, if you could just come this way. Well, he's not going to come this way. You know, you do you, creeper. You enjoy your life, and I'll enjoy mine. But let's go looking around this structure, because I have a theory. You know, I have a theory that I'm going to definitely want to have a sword. I think going in here with a wooden pickaxe might have been insanity. So let's come out. Let's grab 2 pieces of cobblestone. Oh, some old cobblestone texture here. And let me show you something really fun. Because if I make myself a stone sword, which is a weapon that does this amount of damage, I don't have to hover over it, I can just see it there. Oh, I love that. That's another Java feature, by the way. You'll see something weird, which is that if I go to see a creeper, who just exploded, but if I go to kill, let's say, an evoker, that should be easily done. Well, I say easily done. It should be done. I think I've got about a 75% chance of succeeding if I go to attack an evoker right now. So, let's hope there's one here for me to attack. Do you see one in here? I see 3 Vindicators. Oh no, I think that was an evoker behind them all. So, okay. If I can just get him involved in this mess. But if we attack a zombie right here, you'll notice something odd. Are you spotting it yet? This is not how combat works on the Java edition. Oh, he does not have an axe. That is not a Java or a Bedrock thing. So there is an evoker back there. So if I get this guy to attack me first, he's going to do some weird stuff. But I'm going to attack him over and over again. And as you can see, there's no cooldown bar. There's no warning that I'm doing this wrong. Instead, it's Bedrock combat. Even though there is a clear... Okay, so let's go. Ooh. Even though we have Java regeneration, and by the way, we did actually just succeed. We have Java regeneration. We have Bedrock combat, which I think is a really nice middle ground. I think that this is the combat that Bedrock should dream up, and honestly, Java would be better off with as well, outside of maybe PvP situations. And even then, for outside of PvP situations, for people who care, this is awesome if you ask me. I've got a totem, and I could put it in my offhand. Wait, let's put it in there. Okay, I'm going to put it just like there. Wow, look at that. I have a totem from old textures, but still. So now you can see that we're kind of getting a game that looks like halfway between the Java edition and between an entirely independent, unique release. And that is the odd thing about it, if you ask me. If we go towards any aspect of this game, I'm generally just going to start running in this direction. It's a random seed. You all saw me load this up. If we go to any aspect of this world, you'll see how this weird Java mix kind of kicks in. There are a few exceptions to this, such as... if we go into this, it's technically an ocean, I think. It's a updated aquatic, so maybe it's not an ocean, actually. But there are some weird quirks of this game that are, obviously outdated Java or outdated Bedrock. And there are some weird quirks of this game. Ooh, yeah. There are some really weird quirks of this game, such as the night vision you get when you sprint in water here. But in general, and indeed, if we look at the player model in the top left, that is something that Bedrock took from console. But nonetheless, it is another Bedrock feature. And you can see that, yeah, just as we're playing around the game, doing nothing in particular, you can see how many features start to diverge from any Minecraft you expect. This isn't your dad's Minecraft. Oh man, that's used to that could have been a joke a while ago, but you could literally have a dad who played Minecraft before you were born, and you'd be almost able to drive right now. That's entirely possible. If you want to remind yourself how old Minecraft is. But anyway, yeah, I think there's a lot of weird things about this game, such as what happens when you do a critical hit. Again, if you're a Bedrock player, you might not think anything of this. By the way, speaking of Bedrock players, I'm going to do something crazy now. Okay, I'm going to attack this witch. Okay, let's just do it. So, very, very bad to take this much damage. Let me just be very clear about that. But also, let's be clear about the fact that when she threw that potion, it looked like a Java potion. And also, when we go in here, there's no potion inside. It's a Java witch hut, despite this being a game that is try to, in the end, base itself more on Bedrock. We have Java witch huts with no potions inside. Super, super tragic, if you ask me. I think the potions are a cool little feature. It's not even like I could use one right now, but I still just like the idea of having one. Speaking of things that I like, I am on half a heart, and so it's pretty dire for me. I think one bad fall might be the end of me. But let's continue to go looking around and see what we find, because immediately you'll also notice as we go this way that my coordinates are about 81, 81. You know, we're very, very low in the double digits, and we can never get into the quadruple digits on this, the Xbox 360 edition. Obviously, the Xbox One and etc. had different world size options, but our coordinates will never go that high, but still we have them always available in the map. This is, again, not a Java feature. Java has the ability to see coordinates anytime you want to by going into the debug menu, and Bedrock has it built into the game as a world setting. But here on the console edition, weirdly we have the map as a middle ground solution. It's something which is built into the game with real gameplay value, and again, Team Neva gets another massive point. Honestly, I'm coming into this video with no bias. I know that you might be expecting me to make some grand point, but genuinely, I'm kind of curious myself. Like, given the end days of console edition were ones that sadly came too fast, but at that end day, were we playing a game that was very much, like Java with Bedrock quirks? Or were we playing a game that was its own thing with Java quirks? Well, here's a fun one. What happens when you attack a mob with criticals on Bedrock? Well, you get these sparkles, but you don't get that beautiful noise that you might notice. I'll let you play it again. You hear that? Oh, let's try again. Oh, yeah. That actually didn't happen that time. But this noise here, that funk that you get... Well, I'm hearing grass more than I'm hearing the funk. But that little funk that you get for critical hits is actually a Java Edition exclusive. It's almost certainly a bug that it's not on Bedrock. But still, nonetheless, here it is on this version of the game. And oh... that was very satisfying, it has to be said. So I'm now going to eat some raw beef, and I'm going to show you that... Again, it's already been counted, but that fun feature from earlier, which is the fact that every single time we eat here... Again, once we get to the regen level, as long as we have saturation... We don't have saturation right now. As long as we have saturation, our health bar goes up faster. I love this healing. This is what Java has. It's just objectively the way to do things. I don't understand why it's not done more commonly on Bedrock. But I do know that I think it's crazy. Speaking of crazy, I've got 2 white wool and 2 brown wool. And this is an old quirk rather than a unique quirk. But you can't actually make a bed from mixed wool. And also, you can't dye non-white wool any other color. The only color of wool you can dye is white. And so if I want to sleep, my idea is going to have to be come into this jungle, as we're going to do, break ourselves some cocoa beans, and then make ourselves some brown dye using this crafting, just like this. And now, that's free brown dye, which means as long as we're not surrounded by any mobs, I don't have to die, which is my favorite. Although the crafting for this is very weird and wacky for some people. Just like that, we can do it. In we go. Let's get some sleep on. Man, I have such nostalgia for this version of the game. I have to say, anytime I get an opportunity to do this, it's like putting on an old t-shirt that you love. There's just something about it that just feels familiar, and it's really weird that can be true after all these years. I have been playing, ever since episode 350 of my Let's Play, I've been playing Bedrock basically exclusively. I come back here for the odd time every now and then, but still, this is a version that feels natural. The textures feel outdated, the lack of certain biomes or the lack of below Y0 stuff feels weird, but it does feel very, very crazy nonetheless. Speaking of crazy, here's something odd. If you hit the world border on Bedrock, you'll find the Farlands. Hit the world border on Java, and there'll be a big blue wall telling you, no, you can't go past that way. But I've always found the console world border, the neither option in this case, the both better than both option, to be one of the funkiest, because there's an endless ocean, you just can't sail towards it. You can do weird things with boats if you want to get past that, and you can get down there if you want to get really technical, but this is a world border done unlike Java and unlike Bedrock. Speaking of unlike Java and Bedrock, oh, that is a noisy donkey. Let's run away from him, and let's see if we can't find ourselves a horse. Oh, I can't. No, that's a sheep. What is that sheep doing, actually? Weird things is what. Weird things is what. But yeah, I think that just so far, our first 15 minutes or so here have really given us a good idea of how unique this version of the game was. Nowhere else can you find a Bedrock Java hybrid, but yet we just did that right here. So now that we've gone through the first 15 minutes of play, I kind of want to see what the rest of this world has in store. But what else does this version have in play? I'm glad you asked. You didn't ask, it's rhetorical. This video is... I mean, I guess anytime you speak to YouTube, it's kind of rhetorical. Like, I'm assuming you're asking, or at least would like to know the answer enough that I can ask on your behalf. Although, if we really think about it, isn't this me being crazy in general? Like, if you just remove the recording, if no people watch this, or I have a freak out, or even if we just imagine what the world is like with no internet, then I'm just talking to my computer all day, which is pretty strange, I would say. So thank you for not making me crazy, but also thank you for appreciating the next little weird thing, because I wanted to show you one of the weirdest parts about how shields work on this version, but instead of having shields, we still have this. Does this bring back any nostalgia? Because to me, this is wild. The shield works by crouching on Java, and crouching on Bedrock, and left triggering on Java, but on console, it's this quirky shield. I believe this was removed way back in, like, this was removed many, many years ago from both of the other versions, but here we still are able to block with our sword, which just feels wild to me. This used to be, before crouching, this was the universal sign of please don't kill me, I won't kill you. What do we do without the true sword? The answer is not very much. It's also worth pointing out that there is a unique creative menu, only on this version. It looks kind of like the Java creative menu, but with slightly fewer tabs. This drives me crazy. So this is another point for neither and or better than both. This drives me crazy. On Java, you get like 10 tabs, and on Bedrock, you get 4. 4 tabs for every item? It's 2026, Mojang. You can't keep treating us like it's 2012. Although, which is funny because we're playing console, which was discontinued way closer to 2012, partially because of some of the limitations that the console has. If you don't believe those limitations, here's something fun. I've got 2 cows. This is my creative world. I remember placing them here because I wanted to point out that all cows in Minecraft are both male and female. Very interesting fact. They have horns, but they also have udders. I think that's hugely interesting. But you might also find it interesting that there is a spawn limit on this version of the game that looks like this. You can't use the spawn egg at the limit. The maximum number of animals has been reached. This spawn cap technically exists on Java, and even more technically, with more asterisks, exists on Bedrock, but neither of those versions of the game will tell you about the spawn cap, and neither of those versions of the game are even transparent about how it works, and crucially, neither of those versions of the games will actually apply it to using a spawn egg in creative. So you could argue this is a case where it perfectly matches both Java and Bedrock, but I would argue by just being honest about it, rather than pretending that it's not working, much, much better. Okay, so the next point I want to come into is redstone, which seems like it's not Java at first. If you do like a quasi-connectivity test, you'll find out something very interesting, which is a missing piston arm apparently, but you'll find out something very interesting, which is this, more or less. Very, very interesting stuff, right? Indeed, if we use something like this over here as a similar point of example, if I place a redstone here and a piston here, you can see that it will work, but if I were to place it 1 block lower down, or indeed a piston 1 block higher up, it will not. This is a very, very weird thing by itself, but most of the redstone system here follows Java and not Bedrock, which means that everyone who transferred their world over, myself included, all of a sudden found that none of their stuff was working. Speaking of stuff not working, let's come over here to my lovely controller, which is next to this thing here. Let me show you my big old PlayStation controller, which I hadn't finished building by this point. I just had the joysticks, apparently. So yeah, this is an old copy of the creative world. Super delightful to be here. But what's interesting is that if we come over to this, I can show you something really, really strange, which is the way the hotbar is raised up like this. This is such a classic, and it's one of those weird features that might make you question, like, so what's the hotbar doing there? Is it because you have those controller hints? And fun fact, no, if I remove those controller hints, well, actually, I'm only 19% sure, I'll be honest with you, that if I remove these in-game tooltips, and I think they're called controller hints, but if we remove those from the game, as you can see, we still have a super high hotbar, so what's it doing raised up all that way up there? The answer is simple. Wait, why can't I pick this up? That's weird. So weird. But the reason that it's so raised up is because of something called safe area. You see, a lot of people playing on PCs have no issues with safe areas because your monitor usually displays 100% of what you can see, but certain TVs have fancy settings, at least they certainly did in 2012, where they would actually hide certain corners of the screen, and so safe area guarantees that you won't have elements of your game cut off. That's why the Xbox 360 guide is right here in the middle if you're curious. That's why we can see it right there. It's 2:02 p.m. apparently. That is very incorrect. But what's fun about this is the fact that, everything is meant to be in the center of your screen because the edges might be cut off by your plasma TV or your weird TV software or something like that. So, safe area brings us back to being neither, and honestly, I was really expecting I'd finish this video by saying it's half Java, half Bedrock, but it seems as though as we come to the end here and bring up just our last few features, I would say one of the most interesting ones is the change skin function. This is directly inside of the game, matching Bedrock, not Java. And indeed, if I really try to bring you one last little fun feature, I would say it's definitely the way that the save function works. This is bizarre. If you want to save a game on the Xbox 360, and indeed even the Xbox One and PlayStation, if you choose that setting in the settings, you have to hit manually save game. There is no auto-saving, and you can turn on auto-saving as an interval. This is one of the weirdest settings, but the minimum autosave is 50, or the minimum is 15 minutes, meaning that if you were playing Minecraft and hadn't saved, even with this turned to minimum, you could lose up to 14 minutes of progress, which is weird, right? I think that's weird. Maybe you think that's weird too. So that is number 13. And my final weirdest feature that I have to point out, because there is a whole mini-game that is based around this very feature, let me show you what happens if we go for a glide of the Elytra towards my snow globe. Okay, so look at this. Barrel rolling camera. This was a decision made by... Okay, let's go over to my Colosseum. This is one of my favorite old builds. But this little barrel roll you can see right here was never implemented on Bedrock or Java. And I think that we could do this all day. Honestly, I kind of want to. But I want to take a hard end here to say that now that we've reached this point in the video, you can see that clearly the winning side is that Minecraft Console Edition heavily took its inspiration from the Java, but so many aspects of the game were actually independent of Java. They made a game that was based on Java, but still managed to take its own liberties and do its own things. One of the best examples of this is the end, where of course things just work differently. Boy, is it loud here. I mean, like, the way projectiles work is its whole own weird point by itself, but the way that the end portal frames worked was also different, and the end fight itself was hugely different to Java and Bedrock, but the only reason that we can argue that it's the exact same as both is because they looked at this version and went, oh yeah, they did that end fight right, and it's incredible. And that's something I think that should be seriously looked at. Minecraft can have a right version of the game if they want to. They've clearly decided that that's Java, but if you want to have good development, if you want to have good ideas rise to the top, you don't do that by having a, USSR-style Politburo that's like, yes, every decision must be approved by committee. End fight not good, not match Java. Instead of going like that, apologies for my horrific Russian accent there, but instead of doing a system like that, instead allow for things to diverge between the editions of the game, and that's where some of the best ideas will come from. By letting 4J go off and design their end fight, we made an end fight that was better for every other version of the game. I say we, I fought the dragon, it's basically the same. But I think that by making a dragon fight that was different, then they made something which was better for everyone else too. By allowing a different combat system to exist, you've proved a fun middle ground, and although some features are duds, apparently the barrel rolling Elytra is one of these, I think it still goes to show that you can have so many incredible ideas, and so many great things come from letting ideas compete, rather than forcing them specifically not to. Mojang should accept that just like how April Fools work, and just like how internal game jams work, they can have a really great game, and they can have parity, and indeed disparity occur. Should they be doing that? I think yes, especially when there are beloved features on Bedrock and Java, and to this day, console. Look at this. When there are beloved features in each of these editions, it's worth saying, Do these features need to be removed, or are we doing so for a silly reason for the sake of, you know, some middleman on a desk pushing pens around? Because if so, I'm not sure that they should be the priority. But maybe that's just me. Either way, I hope you will enjoy this video greatly. If you did, then consider subscribing. Did you know this creative world is currently in the process of being made into a marketplace style map? I've taken all of the creative worlds I've ever worked on, adding commentary, adding all of these things. That is still a work in progress as you see this video, and I just wanted to know that, like, it's a big thing to work on. It's taking some time, but I am very excited for you to see the end result. Speaking of seeing the end result, I hope you all enjoyed this video, because I'll see you next time. Who among us hasn't flown around following the Ender Dragon? By the way, sprinting speeds in creative, so much faster. Why, you know, one last little thing here. Sprinting in creative is just so much better. Just like how it's so much better when I end the video. Goodbye. Did you know that as long as you don't die, you can fall infinitely in the Xbox 360 void? I could give you fun facts all day, but the video has to end, okay?